Now, like I said, this book covers a ton of different combat, and they go, while he's in charge of G Company, they go through all these different towns. I mean, they go through the town of Hombressen and across the Weser River, and they go through Ellerhausen, and they go through Varlausen, and they go through Varminsen, and they go through Mengerhausen and Gismar, and they're going just from city to city. They're going very quickly, and the fighting, it's becoming a little easier as they're going. The defenses, the Germans are running out of people. They're running out of supplies as well. So the fighting's getting easier, but they're still meeting some hardcore defenders. And one of the things that's happened that's really horrible is the Germans now are using anti-aircraft weapons against the ground troops. So anti-aircraft weapons make flak. They go up in the air and they explode, and they're now using those against the ground troops. And the way that these rounds are coming in and exploding above them, it's a nightmare, and it's really hard for them to fight. So they've got some good efforts going on to go and take out these anti-aircraft weapons. And one of the groups of anti-aircraft weapons that they take out, they finally take out these anti-aircraft weapons through an assault. And when they get done with the assault, MacDonald comes up on the position, and here we go back to the book. Sergeant Patton said the Germans manning the position in the field which held them up were bastards. They had 2 AA guns, he said. Some of them wanted to surrender, but every time a Kraut would jump out of his hole to surrender, some other Kraut SOB would shoot him right in the back. Counting the ones they killed and the ones we got too, there's 19 dead. Patton had one man slightly wounded in the arm, but he had already walked back to Geismar to the aid station. My weapons platoon and platoon of heavy machine guns from H Company arrived from their supporting position outside Geismar. Sergeant Mitchell was killed, one of the sergeants from the heavy machine gun told me. I could not think of for a moment who Sergeant Mitchell was. Then I remembered he was the pleasant, perennial, cheerful tech sergeant in command of the platoon who was to receive his commission as a second lieutenant in a few days. An anti-aircraft gun fired from the woods to the south, the sergeant continued, and Sergeant Mitchell got hit. He was unconscious, and the aid man took him back to one of the TDs to give him first aid. TD is a tank destroyer. It's like another tank, but they're specifically meant to fight other tanks. The aircraft gun fired again, and the goddamn TD backed up. Ran right over Sergeant Mitchell. So that's another thing that you have to train for, is when you're working with armor, when you're working with tanks, they don't know what's going on around them. They don't have like rear view backup cameras. And so if you get in the way of a tank, it's going to run you over. And so that's something that we were lucky when before we went on deployment, we'd go work with tanks a little bit, and that's where we'd learn that lesson. Because you might think, I'll take cover behind this tank. That tank could move at any moment. So you got to be very careful of that, young troopers out there. If you don't work with tanks often, stay out of their way.